One of my very favorite companies, Furls, just came out with something amazing. Knitting needles. Hi there, I'm Anja from Peony & Time, and today's video is going to be just a little bit different from my usual videos. Usually we just do all things giant yarn, but one of my very favorite companies, Furls, just came out with something amazing. Knitting needles. So I am super excited, and I've already chatted a little bit on my Instagram about these, but I thought it would be fun to do a little video review as well because I really am very excited about these. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to share. So along with the fact that they just create really beautiful, high quality products that work really well, I just have a lot of loyalty to the company and love working with them because in my opinion, they just set like the gold standard for people that you want to collab with. Like every time I've collabed with them, which I guess has only been twice now, but they just treat their collaborators so well, and it's always just a delight to work with them. It's just always been a fantastic experience when I've worked with them. And I love their crochet hooks, but I'm not that skilled of a crocheter yet. So when I got the email from Harrison saying that they were going to be making knitting needles, I was so excited. So he very kindly sent me 2 pairs. So these ones, first off, let's just look at how gorgeous these are. I mean, like how gorgeous are the details on these? So beautiful. And then you've got like the engraving, is that the right side up? Yeah. You got this like lovely engraving on the bottom that shows the size. So I have, this is a 6mm size, which I do not remember what that is in US sizing. I always have to Google it every time, like the conversion between millimeter and the US sizes. So these are the needles in teak. They have 3 different wood options. These ones are in teak, and it has ebony and then aluminum details. And then the other 2, I'm gonna have to look this up here. And then the other 2 options are rosewood and ebony. They're all super gorgeous. I picked this color to like test out and take photos of, and I just really love them. I think they're so beautiful. And again, just like with everything they do, like all the little detailing, just it all looks like so high quality and just very lovely and tasteful. So big fan of that. Okay, so my initial thoughts when I got them was, oh my gosh, well, after the fact that I was like, oh my gosh, this is like knitting jewelry. Like it's so gorgeous. So I was really excited about that and really excited about like how pretty they were gonna look in photos. But then I was like, oh my gosh, like they're kind of short. Like they're a fair amount shorter than your average knitting needle. Let me grab another one to show you a comparison. So here is a set of wooden knitting needles from We Are Knitters, which are lovely, and this is the same size. Okay, so yeah, so Furls sent me 2 pairs of needles, one in a 5mm and then one in the 6mm. So here, as like an example, is the, that is quite a big difference, isn't that? So here's the 5mm needle in like from We Are Knitters, and then here is the 5mm needle from Furls. So as you can see there, like that's a pretty hefty difference. It's like, it's like maybe 4 or 5 inches difference, you know? So, anyhow, so I pulled them out, and after being used to like knitting with straight needles that are like this size, I was like, these are gorgeous, they're really short, and I was kind of wondering about like the functionality of that. You know, it's great if a knitting needle is beautiful, but if your whole project isn't gonna fit on there, it's a problem. Anyhow, but fortunately, these randomly happen to be like the exact same size as a We Are Knitters project that I was working on currently. So I was like, this is perfect. I'm gonna pop my sweater project onto these and see how it works. So I've been working on the orchid sweater from We Are Knitters, which is in one of their cotton sweaters. Oh, I guess I have this now on. I finished up the front panel and now I'm on a sleeve. So I have like a sleeve on here, but the whole front of the sweater fit the needle just fine. Okay, so I just counted, and this is 81 stitches on here in like, gosh, would this be like a worsted weight? The yarn size appropriate for 5mm needles. This is them all squished down together just to kind of like show you, like if you really need to, you can still squish a whole heck of a lot of stitches on here. You know, whatever those things are called. Okay, so and again, like I said, this is the sleeve, so it's not as many stitches, but I fit the whole front of my sweater on here just fine. I think I did notice that like when it was just like rolling around in my project bag, that a stitch or two wanted to fall off the end just because it is a little bit shorter, but a point protector at the end would have totally solved that problem. It just wasn't even enough of a problem that I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go out and get some point protectors, because of course I don't have any right now. So anyhow, it fit my project just fine, and I was so glad that it was the same size as like a current project. How handy was that? And more importantly, really awesome thing was that I honestly, I had really started hating working with straight needles and really just avoided them at all costs, because so it's really I mean, like you can fit a really big project on needles that are this long, and that is great, and they work totally fine. And you know, like if you love working on like long straight needles, like that's awesome, more power to you. But for me, I was getting so frustrated because they're so long that I would be snuggled up on the couch watching my Netflix, and they'd be so long that as I'm like curled up with a pillow, they would keep on like poking in, like one side would either be poking into the couch cushions over here or like getting tangled up in my like blanket on the other side. So yeah, the ends were just constantly poking into things and snagging on things, which, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, obviously is not such a terrible problem, but it was annoying enough that I basically have tried to completely stop using straight needles just because it was annoying and frustrating. So I'd started doing everything on circulars just with the magic loop method, because you know it's really compact and easy to just have in your lap. But the bummer with that, especially when you're doing projects that you want to take photos of for Instagram, is circulars just are not quite as beautiful as straight needles. Like straight needles just really have that beautiful classic look. And so they just photograph so well. It just looks so lovely and classic. And I mean, I know that's not, again, in the grand scheme of things, like none of these are like huge, massive problems, but it was enough that I thought about it, and it was enough that it was like a little bit frustrating to me. Anyhow, so knitting with the Furls needles, you guys, it wasn't a problem at all. So I was able to just sit on my couch, watching my Netflix, knitting with these like really truly gorgeous needles. And they're not snagging on anything, they're not poking into anything, and it was just lovely. I was like, oh, I don't mind knitting with straight needles if it's this comfortable of an experience. And I still do really love my circular needles. And very exciting news, Furls is going to be coming out with circular needles later this year is what I heard last. So I'm very excited for that. I really do love my circular needles. So yeah, I'm very excited for the circular release, and I'm really hoping that they will do interchangeables and we'll probably want to get the whole set if that is the case, because based on like the high quality and like high functionality and the like just how pretty all the rest of their products are, I'm just very sure that the circulars are going to be beautiful as well, and so I'm very excited to have all of them. Okay, but back to these needles. But just like the ease of knitting with slightly shorter needles alone really has basically redeemed straight needles for me. Like I said, I had previously just been avoiding them at all costs because it was just made for an uncomfortable knitting experience, and I want to sit down and just really like my knitting is my introvert time where I feel like I'm recharging, and if I'm focused the whole time, and if I keep on being distracted the entire time by like how uncomfortable the experience is, it really defeats the purpose for me. Life is busy. I don't get a chance to just sit down and, you know, like really enjoy some recharging, introverting knitting time as much as I would like. And so it's worth it to me for it to be as pleasant of an experience as possible. So anyhow, having lovely needles that look beautiful and were also really comfortable to knit with was really huge. Okay. Next up is these things are so super lightweight, like really lightweight, to the point where when I got them, I was like holding them really carefully, and was really afraid that I was maybe gonna accidentally snap them or break them because they just feel so lightweight. but I really got to test out exactly how tough they were because just maybe a day or two after I got these in the mail, my husband and I jumped in the car and took off on a road trip. So these just got like tossed in my project bag. And of course I tried to, package them up so that they weren't, just rolling around just like this in my bag. But the ones that I got were kind of an advanced copy. They hadn't finished all of their packaging yet, so I didn't have the special boxes for them to go in. So I kind of just like wrapped them up as best I could and hoped for the best. And then, and they did so great. So yeah. It was awesome. They are just like super tough. I was really impressed. But of course, I'm also careful with them. Like I didn't step on them or anything. I'm not putting them through any, I'm not gonna be putting these through any torture tests because when you have something this lovely, you take care of it. But yeah, I was really impressed with how sturdy they are. They're really lightweight and really sturdy, which is really such an important combo when it's something, we hold our needles for hours when we're working on a big project. So I think that's probably so much better for our wrist health and everything when you've got something that doesn't weigh a bunch. Okay, one other thing I did notice was with the inlays, there is just a slight potential that your yarn can snag just a teeny bit here. With the wool yarn that I used, I didn't even think about it. I didn't notice it at all. I did notice it just a teeny bit when I was working with this cotton yarn. But I was also knitting really tightly. Like too tightly, really. But so yeah, when I was knitting super tightly with cotton yarn that has cotton yarn, it has like no give or stretch to it basically. And so when I was knitting too tightly with cotton yarn, I did notice that it did snag just a little bit on the inlays, but I loosened my tension up just a little bit. And again, I was knitting too tightly. So this wasn't like, oh my gosh, I had to change my entire style of knitting or my entire tension, And so after I changed that, it's like this. Like you can feel a little bit that the inlays are there as you slide over them, but it's not a problem. And they don't snag. I don't notice it like slowing down my knitting speed. And again, like I mentioned, with the wool yarn that I was using, I didn't even think about it. It wasn't a problem at all. And I'm wondering maybe if that was just because the wool tends to have just a little more give to it. I don't know. Maybe I was just being a weirdo and knitting way too tightly with this cotton stuff. Oh, one last thought with the length of these. I could see the only time that I could see the shorter length really being a disadvantage would be if you were working on a project, like maybe a shawl project that had like 200 or 300 stitches on there. Obviously, like no matter what you do, 300 stitches probably are not gonna fit on this size of needle. But for me, I'm trying to think, I think the only shawl projects that I've done, I do them on circulars with like pretty long cords. So I can't think of a project that I would want to be like planning on using straight needles for that I would need to have like 300 stitches on at this point at least. So I don't feel like for me that really would be an issue. So yeah, but something to be aware of. Okay, last thought is they're just really, really beautiful. And I really think that working with beautiful tools really is inspiring, or at least it really is for me. Yeah, I don't know, it makes, I feel like it's really inspiring and makes me feel like a little more creative, which maybe sounds cheesy, but it's how I feel. And yeah, so just being able to, I love the projects that I work on and I'm really proud of them. And I think they're so beautiful. And so it's really fun and nice to also have beautiful tools that I'm working with as well. And I love being able to snap a photo for Instagram and feel like they are set off and look really gorgeous when they're like on needles this beautiful. So yeah, also just all the detailing is so pretty. Like just look at these inlays. Like how beautiful is that? And then these beautiful ends here. Like it's just, all the details are so nice. Yeah, anyhow, so that, those are my thoughts on the needles. Again, thank you Furls so much for sending me these 2 pairs. I really love them. I'm really, really happy with them. I love knitting with them. They've been perfect for this sweater project that I've been doing. And I'm just excited, and it's so fun to have like such beautiful tools for working on more fun projects in the future. So yeah, those are just my thoughts after working with these for a while. Officially a big fan. If you've had a chance to work with the Furls knitting needles as well, comment below and let me know what you thought about them. Yeah, let me know your favorite colors. I've only seen the teak in person so far, so I'm gonna have to get some of the other ones at some point here to see those as well. So yeah. Thanks so much for hanging in on this long-winded review. I always try to keep it like short and snappy, and then realize that I just have a lot of thoughts. So you guys are troopers. All right, so yeah, thanks so much for joining, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.